Hello everyone and welcome back to Russell's Movie Reviews, the show where I review stuff that's mostly pretty good and maybe one of the best movies of all time, or a film that absolutely sucks and should remain in the depths of hell. Now, first off, let me just say, welcome everyone to Season 5 of Russell's Movie Reviews. I never thought that I could make it up to 100 episodes, and I sure did not believe I could make it up to 5 seasons of this. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, all of you guys, so much for keep on watching these videos and making encouraging me to make more of these videos. So thank you, all of you guys. And with the fact that it's October, spooky season is about coming around. So might as well get prepared. Yes, I know this is not the best or one of the best Halloween films. This is honestly actually one of the worst Halloween films ever. But this is really like one of the only Halloween hats that I have. So it's probably not the only one that I have. So you're gonna guys have to be dealing with this for the next few weeks. But yeah, anyway, spooky season is about to be coming around. It's October. Halloween is basically just around the corner. So welcome everyone to my second annual Halloween special. So we're gonna be doing things a little bit differently this year. Instead of us doing instead of me doing basically two movies a week or basically two movies a week. Because if I just did that over and over again, this would be long dead, and I wouldn't be able to do this anymore, and I'll probably be a lot more, just sad and bored most Halloweens for the next few years. So from this point on, we're only going to be doing one movie per week, and we're only going to be doing but we're still going to be doing at least one movie per week schedule up until October 31st, where we're going to be reviewing two Halloween films, like two Michael Myers films, um, until we finish off that series, and then we're probably going to move on to like Nightmare on Elm Street, and then probably after that we're going to do uh, Friday the 13th. So yeah, but to start off this year, I thought I might as well talk about a little unknown film. Well, not unknown, but at least unknown to me for a few years until I started getting really into movies and into horror. And that movie is Candyman, released on October 16th of 1992. Now, my history with this film is, like I said, I didn't really know about this film that much. I've certainly heard about the main actor in the film from, him appearing in several seasons of several different Star Trek shows. And, just overall being a very well talented actor. Also being in the Final Destination series. Um, but besides that, I never really knew this film until about a year or two ago. Like I said, when I started really getting into horror, that's when I really started to know what Candyman was. And then, obviously I picked up the Blu-ray about like a year or two ago. And so far I have not watched it until this review. So, obviously I heard great stuff about this, but I went into this with just no expectations. And we'll discuss again my opinions at the end of this review. So, yeah. Um so yeah. By the way, there's some I don't know whether or not like people just don't know their information or the information is just simply not out yet about certain things about the film. But basically, I could not really find a single number for how much money this movie was, like what the budget was for this film, because one source said that it was between 8 or 9 million. Another source said it was just 8 million. Another source said it was about 6 million, and another source said about 9 million, and then another source about another 8 million. So I was just like, okay, clearly no one knows an exact number for what the budget of this film was made. So I just went with the number that popped up the most when I was trying to do research for the film. So if I get any of these numbers wrong, please let me know in the comments down below. The internet's dumb. So this film was, I think, made on a budget of $8 million. Domestically, it made about over 25 million, and worldwide, it made over 32 million. This was directed by Bernard Rose, who, up until this point, I don't really know what they did in terms of directing. And this was based off of a Clive Barker story, and I think this is actually the first movie where it's based off a Clive Barker story that I've done. This is one of his more well-known adaptations. Uh, I think the most well-known adaptation of any of his work is obviously Hellraiser, which he obviously went and directed the first film of. This film is based off of his short story, The Forbidden, um, and it was also loosely based around the actual murders in low-down Chicago. Um, so yeah. So and unlike some of his other um film adaptations, um he played a part in this film, but not like Hellraiser where he was the director of the film. He was an executive producer on this one, but he still basically watched over the director and basically like being like, don't fuck up or else, your ass is grass. So yeah. But yeah, um so yeah, let's get on to the plot. So skeptical graduate student Helen Lai, played by Virginia Madsen, befriends Anna Mary McCoy, played by Vanessa Williams, while researching superstitions on a housing project in Chicago's near north side. From Annie Mary, Helen learns about the Candyman, played by the fantastic Tony Todd, hook-wielding figure of urban legend that some of her neighbors believe to be responsible for a recent murder. After a mysterious man matching the Candyman's description begins stalking her, Helen comes to fear that the legend may be all too true. Um, so really, it's kind of just I kind of I recognize the kind of similar structure where I could easily compare this to like the first Halloween film, where it's about Laurie Strode, babysitting these kids, and they keep on talking about this boogeyman, which she doesn't believe is real, and doesn't believe it's real throughout the most of the film until about the third act, where she's like, okay, yeah, this thing is actually real, and slowly tries to figure out a way to stop it. Basically, the same thing for Candyman, where she is doing this thesis paper about this urban legend about the Candyman, about how it committed a few murders, um and how people say it's real, but so far no real evidence has pointed to this supernatural being being the killer. And then over the course of the film, she slowly starts to realize that it's real and slowly tries to figure out a way to stop his plans. Um, so really overall, um, I honestly can compare this to, both Halloween and surprisingly on Nightmare on Elm Street. Strictly for the fact of the backstory that they give Candyman, which I'll talk about later when I get on to favorite scenes. Uh, but if you guys are fans of, Candyman and horror, you most likely know what the backstory is, but I'll save that for again later. But, you know, the backstory connection about how they were, you know, murdered in a sense, and then they came back as a supernatural being, and then started killing people. That kind of, both of them are very similar in that sense. Um, but um, it just feels like that. It's kind of taking like like plot points from like different horror icons and then mashing them together into this film, which could work, and it has worked in several ways, but also hasn't worked in other ways. So really, it kind of just seemed like either we do it like this and it works, or it just simply fails. So you know, but you know, overall, I just feel like that it's kind of samey about certain plot details, but overall, the plot is actually fairly, you know, fairly good. And I guess might as well stress this right now. If I seem a little disinterested right now, it's because this is my second time recording this. The first version of this, the first recording, was just about 50 minutes long, and yet none of the fucking audio picked up. Like, it was just silent. Um, and so I'm kind of pissed off about that, and so now I'm recording this. So, again, if I sound a little disinterested at some points, uh, I'm sorry, but I'm just not really in the state of mind to kind of think straight because I'm kind of just still pissed off about that. Let's hope that this recording goes well, and if it does, it's probably gonna get uploaded. So we'll find out. But um, you know, and to go back to the film, um, you know, uh, again, like I can't really. I'm trying to think of things to talk about, but I talked about, like right now in the original recording, I would have been talking about, just basically the entire film. Um, and it just I'm just trying to think of new things to talk about without repeating myself. Um, so I mean, yeah, I guess to really go over the film, in its entirety, you know, we get introduced to Helen in a fairly good way, where she's listening to this guy, or this person, I should say, because it is a girl. But yeah, this girl telling the story of Candyman, where this girl was hanging out at her house, babysitting a little child, and then Clara was babysitting this child, and then Billy came over on his motorcycle, and then they were, I believe, about to go and actually, they were about to have sex, where she takes him into the bathroom and tells him about this, mysterious thing that's happening, or this legend of this guy Candyman, and say his name five times in the mirror. And Billy says it four times, and when he leaves and goes to the couch, she says it a final time, and then Candyman appears, and then you just hear her scream, and you see Billy look up, and then you see the blood fall down. And then it cuts back to Helen, and she finishes up that, then leaves, and goes to her friend Bernadette, and they start talking about it, and then she goes to meet her husband Trevor, played by um Xander, or Alexander Burke Kelly. And I'll just say this right now: this guy is a total douche. Talk about why later on in this review. But they're talking about all these students are his class, and then they start talking about this girl named Stacy, which is one of his students, and then basically there's a few minutes where they just start, it's like her and Trevor, and then her and Bernadette, and then they finally decide to go to the near north side of Chicago to find out or to do research on this Candyman legend. They meet Anna Mary McCoy, and start getting a little bit more information about it, and then Helen finds this shrine for Candyman where behind huh, behind this mirror in this abandoned room is this is like this little area, and there's a few holes in it, and then one hole is actually has a painting of Candyman up against it, and it's I do admit it's a very nice looking painting, but at the same time I wouldn't want to have that in my fucking house. um so it's like one of those things where it's like it's beautiful, but at the same time it's fucking terrifying. um and the movie goes on, and Tony Todd actually, okay, the Candyman doesn't show up for a good while into the film, because the only time you actually hear his voice before the big reveal of Candyman is right at the beginning after the opening titles, where he gives this like monologue about like flesh and blood and stuff like that, and you focus on Helen, as the story's told to her, and then she's going to talk to her fiance, and then Bernadette, and then they go to this, they go to the north side of Chicago, and then they start doing research about um about Candyman, and then she gets jumped by this person who basically it isn't Candyman, but basically they pretends to be Candyman to keep the fear alive. uh she gets knocked out, beaten up basically, and then the main instigator that was like, I'm Candyman, gets arrested, and it seems like that everything is good. They got the photos that Helen took, and they got agreed to make a book off of this Candyman legend. And so they're at this high, and then right at that like 45-minute mark, that's when you get introduced to Candyman, Tony Todd, where you just hear like she opens up a trunk, she like puts her purse in, she closes it, she's about to go to go to like her driver's side, and you just hear this voice go, Helen, and she's like, what the fuck? And then you hear it again, and you turn around, and there's this Tony Todd sitting at this other side of the fucking parking garage, and it's one of the best reveals of a horror character I could think of. You know, Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, they're all top tier reveals. But Candyman is like right there at like fourth place for me. Because that's like, holy shit, that is amazing. And then um we have the scene earlier where uh Helen's like kind of like professor buddy gives her the entire backstory to Candyman, where uh when he was human, uh, a human named Daniel Rabatile, he was a painter, and the king of like the ruler of his area asked him to make a painting of his daughter, and so he did that, and then they started falling in love, him and the daughter. And the ruler got pissed about this and basically ordered a militia after him. And what follows is one of the most horrifying descriptions of a horror character or one of the most horrifying backstories of a horror character I think I can think of, where they chased him down up until where this building structure is at, where they claim that these murders happened. Um, and they pinned him down. They cut off his right hand. Um, placed this hook onto his hand, smothered him in honey, and then bees swarmed him and stung him to death. Even till this day, that when you tell that backstory to someone, they think, one, that's Candyman. Two, that's fucking horrific. Because it's honestly a really tragic backstory, and you feel for the guy. Granted, at the same time, you don't feel for him because he is just murdering people, but you can kind of understand why. You feel a little bit sympathetic towards him. We have not to go into too much. I might as well mention it, and then we'll go on to it. This film does have sequels. After the moderate success of this film, they released in '95 Candyman: Farewell to the Flesh, which, from what I've heard, it was an okay sequel, but obviously not as good as the original. And then I think in 2000, either '99 or 2000, we had Candyman: Day of the Dead, which, from what I've heard, is just fucking terrible. Don't ever watch it. And then this year in August, for some reason, they released another film called Candyman, where I thought that it was going to be, from the marketing and from the posters I've seen, I thought it was just going to be a remake with a completely new actor as Candyman. But according to some resources, the 2021 film is a direct sequel to this film. So I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, at least it's not another freaking sequel to a classic horror character that in the remake just butchered, the character all whole. But it's still like, you could have made your advertising a little bit better and not made it look like a fucking remake. But so far, besides this film, I've not seen any of the other Candyman films. So probably gonna review them throughout the next 3 or so Halloweens, Halloween special that I plan on doing. But we'll find out what my opinions are of those. But just to mention it, in the second film, they explain his backstory again, and I think they also do it in the third film. But in the second film, you actually get to see like what happened actually, instead of just hearing the sound effects that you do in this film, where you actually see them, catch him, pin him against like a tree stump, obviously cut off his arm, put the hook in there, smother him in honey, and then he gets swarmed by bees, and then gets stung to death. And even though that sequence is probably the best scene in that sequel, it's, in my opinion, it's better to how they did it in this film, where you got the explanation from the professor, and then you hear the sound effects in the background of like the saw going back and forth, and then like the screaming, and then like them pouring the honey on him, and then him getting, and the bees coming in. It's like, that's way more convincing to me that like that's fucking terrifying than to actually see it. Because yes, it is horrifying to see it, but it's way more terrifying to just listen to it. And it's like, fucking Christ. And that is probably one of the most well-known things about the film, is the actual backstory that they give to Candyman. In terms of actual scenes, um, another I another well-known scene is when Helen finds Jake when she's trying to talk to Annie, and she asks him to take him to the lair of the Candyman. and he takes her to this abandoned outdoor bathroom. Well, not obviously outdoor bathroom, but it's like one of those ones where you walk in. It's like a small building, and you walk in, and then there's obviously like the stalls in there and shit. So, uh, he brings her to this abandoned bathroom, and then tells her the story of this one kid that went in there, and uh, within a 5 second period, he went in there, started pissing, and then the Candyman showed up, cut off his penis, and then left him there. And then all what happened when an adult showed up was that he just walked in, saw the boy laying back down on the ground with blood everywhere, with the boy holding his crotch, and him going to the one stall, and it's just just a thing of just blood all over the place in the stall. And even just thinking about that just makes me cringe inside. It's like that's a really painful way to just live, like having your penis cut off and yet still being able to live is a very a very awful thing to deal with. But then also it's like what Jake says is like it's better to be dead than to live with that. And it's like I absolutely agree with you. If that happened to me, I would just fucking want to die. But you know, it's still like oh god, like fucking Christ. Um, and then the final iconic scene that I'll talk about later is actually my favorite scene in the entire film. So I'm saving that for later. Um, and then she gets uh after that happens, she goes to after she sees like about like the 45 minute point, she meets Candyman. She gets seduced or hypnotized by him, and then he gives this great monologue about like how the bees are one with him and they keep him alive, and then she wakes up in a bathroom under a blanket, and when she removes the blanket, she's covered in blood. And she's like, okay, what the fuck is going on? And she sees a bloodstream going outside of the bathroom. And so she opens the door and sees Annie's dog, decapitated dog's head, laying there in a puddle of blood right next to a bloodied cleaver. And this is one of my major problems with the film, and it's basically just a nitpick. But she sees that and she hears like screaming or like moan or like crying or basically something like that. And so what she do? She picks up the fucking bloodied cleaver and then goes walking into a room. Like if I saw that, if I just saw a decapitated dog's head and a bloody cleaver in a pool of blood, I would just try to get the fuck out of there. I would just try and leave the apartment. But no, she goes and picks up the cleaver, goes into the bedroom, and sees that the baby that she had, that Annie had, is gone. It's it's supposed to make us think at first that it's dead because you just see a blood pot, like a blood puddle right there. But it'll obviously be later revealed that the Candyman actually took the baby, and he's keeping it in his lair, which is the place that had like the giant mouth opening Candyman painting that I was talking about earlier, where like with the hole inside the mouth that people could just walk through and enter the lair. Um, but yeah, no, but yeah, he took the baby, but then Helen is being blamed for the murders. So obviously, it's first when she tries to quote unquote murder Annie, and then later on, she's blamed for the murder of what's her face? I see it, but it's like I'm trying to remember how to pronounce it. Oh my god, how am I literally forgetting to pronounce his name? And I'm, oh my god, um, oh my god, I'm literally forgetting. Oh my god, I am. Oh my Jesus. Oh my god. You know what? I'll be right back, cause I literally am having a stroke right now because I don't even remember how to pronounce that girl's name. So I'll be right back. But after this cut. All right, guys, I'm back. So, you know, um, Bernadette, she unfortunately becomes a victim of Candyman, and that's like his catchphrase. Basically, it's just "be my victim." So yeah, that's a very one of the most well known things with Candyman's is that stupid fucking catchphrase. Um, and so yeah, after a few more deaths and her being incarcerated and Candyman basically frees her, she figures out that the only way to really save the child is to become one, well, not one with, but like basically be immortal with Candyman. Um, and then she realizes like, oh yeah, shit, he's going to basically murder this child or this baby basically. So she goes to this bonfire, which was set up earlier in the film when they were going to Candyman's hideout with her and Jack, or Jake, sorry, um, and yeah, she goes in there, tries to save the baby. Candyman stops her, and he's like, "No, we're going down together." And as they set the bonfire ablaze, and then she notices a burning stake, and so she grabs it and stabs Candyman in the chest, um, basically allowing her to escape. Now, even though a wooden beam does fall on her and sets her on fire, she is able to escape, um, with the baby unscathed. Um, and she basically saves the day because it was her. It was basically her plus, the people who didn't know that they were in there, that caused the death of Candyman in this film, where he basically just burns alive and basically gets put up ablaze, and you see all these like red glowing bees like flying up all over the place, and it basically ends in Helen's funeral because unfortunately she does die from the burns. Um, we get to the funeral where it's the husband along with Stacy, um, along with I think with the professor as well, and I think also the FBI agent that was with her trying to stop the case. So there was all that, and then um uh yeah, after the funeral and after everyone from the complex shows up to basically pay their respects and throw Candyman's actual hook for Grave, basically saying like, you saved all of us, this is our reward to you, which honestly is a pretty shitty reward, but anyway. um it it ends with Trevor in the apartment, and he says Helen 5 times in the mirror, cuts off the lights, and we get this strobing effect, which I'm not a fan of, really. uh I mean, I don't get seizures really. But even then, the strobe effect hurts my eyes. But yeah, we basically get the strobe effects of her with the hook, and she stabs Trevor and kills him. And I'm assuming she does also kill Stacy, because when she comes in to ask Trevor what's going on, and she sees that there's a dead body, she's holding a big ass butcher knife. And then you cut to a painting of her with the flaming hair, and you don't hear anything after that. So it's like, well, yeah, Stacy's probably fucking dead too. So, I guess to go over cast, since I never actually went over that really. We have the fantastic Tony Todd. Or actually, did I? Well, I might as well go over it right now. Again, Tony Todd as Candyman is fucking fantastic in this film. Also, well, in this film, it's not. He only appears as Candyman. Um, and but it's only in like the sequel where you got to see him as his human alter ego, or in this human form as Daniel Robitaille. We have Virginia Madsen as Helen Lai. She is fantastic in this film and fucking gorgeous. We have uh, Casey Lemons as Bernadette Walsh, who is basically the work colleague slash best friend to Helen. She is great in this role. We have Vanessa Williams as Anne Mary McCoy. Uh, Good job for you. We had Jean Guy. That is actually his name. Dejuan. As if I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry. As Jake. We have Stanley DeSantis as Dr. Berg, who is in my favorite scene, which I'll mention. We have Marina uh, Elliott as Clara and Ted Raimi as Billy. And we have Gilbert Lewis as Detective Frank Veneto, and he does great as well. Um, I guess to go on to my favorite scenes, as I've been hinting this throughout this entire review, is when Helen goes to meet Dr. Burke because he's apparently a psychologist, and um, he starts asking her a couple questions, and then she's like, "Well, Doc, I'm not fucking crazy. Like this shit was literally happening. Like this guy with a hook for a hand was murdering these people. It wasn't me." And he's like, "All right, prove it." And well, no, she's like, "I can prove it, like really right here." And he's like, "All right, prove it." And so you see her look in the mirror to her left, and she says Candyman 5 times. And at first, obviously, nothing happens, and then you see, um, he just starts spewing up blood, and all of a sudden, you just see Candyman like pop up behind him and just rip this like freaking hook like through his back. And it's just like, oh, it's gross and gory, but it's also like fucking awesome because it's literally I think it's the only gory kill in the entire film because all the other kills are off screen, and even then there is only like there's only like there's barely any blood, so it's like, oh, okay. Um, and this scene was extended a little bit in the uncut version, which I guess just to clarify it right now, yes, I did watch the uncut version for this review because basically they're literally both the exact same versions. It's just that obviously the uncut version has a little bit more gore in it, but literally they're both 99 minutes long, which I'll show you right now. Um, you know, there it is, theatrical 99 minutes, theatrical cut 99 minutes, the uncut version. So literally, yeah, they're both the exact same versions of the film, but they're just you know the uncut version is slightly longer because of the extra gore scenes. Um, but um, yeah, there's really no difference between them. Like literally, just because of a few seconds of gore. That's the only real difference. Um, and you would notice it particularly with Dr. Burke's death is that the film stock changes between like from like the regular footage and then it cuts to this uncut footage and it goes back into like the theatrical cut. So, um, fun fact that I have for this film is the bees were bred specifically for this film, and so that I think it was that it was either that they were just under 12 hours old or like around 12 hours old, basically, so that their stingers um wouldn't hurt as much. I mean, yeah, it's gonna hurt, but it's not gonna be like a full grown stinger like getting you, and like that shit hurts. Um, so um, you know, it's and no one left unscathed really, because I did read reports that Tony Todd did get stung by the bees in this film. I think in total he was stung about 26 times in the entire trilogy. And I also did see this where it said that apparently Tony Todd negotiated. I think it had to have been in the second film, or maybe midway through this film's production. But basically, I think throughout the entire trilogy, he got, at least in this film, he got a $1,000 paycheck every day for every single time he got stung by a bee. So if that's true, then that's hella funny that like he basically got like an extra, he got like a few $1,000s on him now because he got stung by bees during on a movie set. So pretty cool. And the music was composed by Philip Glass, and the score for this film is fucking fantastic. Like literally, as soon as if I hear the like the main title theme and like on the radio in the car, I'm like, where the fuck is Candyman at? I do not, Candyman, don't fuck with me here. Don't no, you're not appearing here. So it's like it's like one of those things where like, oh fuck no. Um. So yeah. Um. And so yeah, I think there is a soundtrack release for this film. I know it's most likely gotta be on digital, like YouTube Music or some shit like that. I don't know if the entire soundtrack has been released. If I had to guess, if it was around when the movie came out, I'm gonna say no. So I don't know if there is an expanded release yet. I don't think there is, but research might show that to us. Um, so yeah, all right. Well, I guess to show it out before I get on to final thoughts, this is obviously the Scream Factory Blu-ray. So you can obviously have the new cover on, or you're gonna have the theatrical poster on, which obviously I do. Um, so yeah, there's the front, there's the spine, and there's the back with two discs on it. The first disc is the theatrical cut, and the second disc is the unrated cut. Like I said earlier, I've watched the uncut version for this review, and so yeah, let me show it up in here, and there's the custom artwork for this release, and yeah, and there are both the discs right there. So the theatrical disc has the theatrical poster, and then the uncut version has the new cover art. So, final thoughts on Candyman. So, like I said at the beginning of this review, this was the first time I was watching this, and I had no expectations for it, and it was really good. I wasn't, expecting this to be that bad because I heard a lot of praise for it, but it was really good. There was a few scenes throughout it that did make me think like, okay, yeah, this kind of dilutes the film's quality a bit, but overall, it's a really fantastic film, and I do recommend this to anyone. Uh, so I'm gonna give this film a B plus. Again, if you guys are gonna watch this film, might as well watch the uncut version. It's literally only like a few seconds longer. It's basically relatively the exact same version as the theatrical. It's just like with a few extra seconds of gore. So, yeah, but do whatever you want. I'm not the judge of that, but I do absolutely recommend it. This film, if you are gonna watch it, try and get this Blu-ray because since it has both cuts on it, and they both look great. In because these are both 2K scans of a 4K. These are like 2K resolutions of a 4K scan of the original prints. So, uh, I would say this is probably the best version to watch them on. So, yeah. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this first part of the second annual Halloween special. You can click right here to click on my profile picture to go to my channel. You can also click down there and my username down there to go to there as well. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon to get notified when future videos are coming out. Click over here to watch the latest 2 videos. And stay tuned for next week where we're going to be discussing the beginning of a franchise with a certain doll that likes to make a lot of wisecracks. And it could be quite annoying most of the time. So anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Awesome Movie Reviews. And stay tuned for next week for the second part of the second annual Halloween special. Live long and prosper. Out.